Welcome back to the Kyle Brown Podcast, and we're back again with another special guest. I'm with my guy, Desmond Wiggan, the founder of Battery Xchange, and I'm super excited to have him on today. Another great episode where we can dive deep into tech, a startup, and a number of things that I've really been wanting to discuss with you. I've been knowing you for a while now, and I think this is an opportune time to be able to come together and chat about what you got going on with Battery Xchange, man. So really excited about today. Welcome. Thank you for being able to carve out some time to catch up with me.
Oh, yeah.
We catch up a number of times in the city and whatnot, and I always love to support what you got going on. And you Ramley, you're a Ram.
Oh, yeah.
And so that we'll always have that connection. Frat also, so we're gonna definitely have that one. But this is something that I've always been inspired by is Battery Xchange. So thank you again for being up here. I think it's important to give people their flowers early.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And you're young in the game, so I got a lot of more time to keep giving you your flowers, but I appreciate you for being on today. I really wanted to talk about your origin story, all the things you got going on, how you've been able to grow this business into what I would call a juggernaut of a startup, and definitely something for a lot of people to be able to see and visualize and potentially maybe be able to do it themselves. So if you could please introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, any fun facts about yourself, but also mainly what you do with Battery Xchange and what the brand and the company is, and we'll jump right in.
Nah, for sure, man. Definitely a pleasure to be here. I support you. I support everything that you do. So being here is definitely humbling. I think you kind of touched on the business side, but outside of that, I'm a husband. I'm a father of two now. We just had our second child. So that kind of forces me to be intentional on time, and just really being present in different spaces. Family is really important. So I'm Jamaican, first generation American. So, everything that I'm doing is literally I have my family on my back, on my shoulders, and they really are very supportive of what I do and the chances that I've taken. But in essence, Battery Xchange is a company that's trying to change the way that we think about charging now and into the future. We've created a solution where individuals can rent on-demand portable energy, similar to how you can rent a scooter or one of those bikes or even a red box model. And we've been able to partner with some of the biggest healthcare systems, professional sporting teams, honestly, a whole bunch of really, really great partners. But in essence, we allow them to be a part of our user experience and market and engage with the captive audiences on our platform. So it's been really, really great, seeing the growth of the company over the last few years. But I don't do it alone. I got a phenomenal group of people behind me, such as yourself, that just, rooting me on. So that's the essence of who we are.
Dope, man. And it's really dope that you went into the battery and the energy world. I think that's a really cool and interesting area to go into as we start looking at companies that are really getting into the energy model. Tesla, as we know, has the full infrastructure of vertical integration of charging, being able to have their vehicle on demand where you can make it across country in 3 to 4 stops within $150 and being able to do that sufficiently. So you did it more from the mobile device perspective and the importance of we're gonna have this. No matter where we go, we're gonna have this. But it's really important that we keep this thing charged, that when we're in the places where we need to be able to network, we need to be able to connect, you have a device that can be able to do that within a matter of minutes. So if you could you describe, we have it here, which is awesome. Could you describe to me what that process looks like? Because the hardware is dope. It's a kiosk in a number of places where you can directly rent and be able to use the technology and the hardware. But could you talk to me about the process of it when you envision Battery Xchange and what that user process may look like from the consumer? Talk to me about that. And then I want to go in a deeper, how you even got to, wanting to jump into this industry in general. But talk to me about the process of what it looks like from a user perspective of the hardware, using it, and what that whole process is.
Nah, for sure. I think one of the things that you mentioned around batteries being in everything, right? And so I think that's where we saw this industry or this opportunity really globally because of the devices. Even for us, like we don't only charge cell phones, we could charge tablets, we could charge, you know, laptops, and in the future we want to be able to be that solution where you could walk into any environment and like, you know, connect like you connect Bluetooth, right? And so that's the innovation side. But what we started to see early on was, honestly, charging is in the space of where like the dial-up internet era, if you think about it, right? So it's inconvenient, like it's a solution that everybody does. Like we still rely on outlets, right? And so like, you know, in environments like, you know, convention centers or wherever you're at, if you need a charge, if you don't got your, you know, you don't got your cable, you got to look around, right? And then you're fighting for 2 outlets in a venue with hundreds of people.
It get ugly.
And so we just saw that as an inconvenience. And we felt that there could be a better way to be able to be kind of on the go, move around, still network, still move around, and trust that your cell phone or device was being charged. So in essence, what we built is a mobile application that interacts with a kiosk immersive experience where we have our kiosk machines placed in various locations. Individuals can literally scan the QR code on the actual kiosk machine, then they get to the App Store. So if you got Google Play or if you got an iPhone, the App Store, you download the mobile app. It's integrated with the Facebook, the Google, so it's easy to onboard. And then you're able to scan the QR code again, pop out one of these portable batteries, and these portable batteries compatible with all the cables. So you think about, again, going to even some of those like stationary where it has a bunch of cables and stuff, like we literally give you everything you need.
You took that out, and you have multiple devices. You got the USB-C, what is that, the Lightning?
Type-C, and micro USB.
Micro USB, which is huge, bro. You don't know, my camera was dying before an interview one day, and I had yours that you gave to me, and I didn't know that I had the micro the whole time. Like I was panicking, like, yo, I'm not gonna be able to do the interview, and I was able to plug it in. I was like, yo, this saved the day. And awkwardly, micros I feel like are a little bit harder to find.
Because places. Like, I mean, that's kind of like a legacy charging solution. Like we don't really have those like cameras or IoT devices that utilize that. Type-C is the next wave. It charges faster. It's gonna last a little bit longer. And I think the cool part about, the cool thing about what we're doing is as micro kind of goes out, whatever that next thing is, we just plug another thing there, you know, and then moving into the wireless world. And again, just really completely changing how we think about charging. Like that's the premise of what we decided to do in this space, and you know, feel like we're doing a good job at it.
I love how like easy the process is for your kiosk. One of the main things you said about 2 or 3 times was QR code. QR codes have been around, but their value is like has gained a lot over the past probably 3 to 5 years. Like COVID came back, the QR code makes things so much easier. And I always tell people like, when I create a QR code for something, I don't send it directly to their phone because you can't scan on your phone. But your kiosk allows people to scan it directly because it's a physical kiosk, and it takes them directly to the app. And then from the app, it's an extremely easy process of just setting up an account and being able to then rent out specifically one of your devices. So from that point where they've created an account and now they want to rent a device, what does that process look like? And could you talk to me a little bit about just kind of the speeds of what the charging looks like from a phone to maybe a laptop to maybe a tablet, and how those kind of lead times go from there?
One of the things that you kind of mentioned, and that's interesting, as a innovative company, you gotta really stay on track with like user behavior. And so we started to see that the QR code was a part of in-location experiences. Like you gotta scan your QR code to check a menu, to pay, all these different things. And we were just like, okay, so people are starting to reinvigorate their use and utilization of the QR code, put that a part of the process. And so we did that. and been getting some really good feedback. And then so you rent a portable battery, you got access to it. You pretty much have up to 24 hours to keep it.
Okay.
We obviously want to have the next individuals, the ability.
Trust.
Yeah,
There's some
right.
trust there.
But that's why there's 24 batteries in one kiosk machine, our Hercules. Then there's 48 in our Apollo, which is our big boy.
Oh, I didn't know you called them that. That's dope.
Yeah.
Hercules.
So I love Greek gods.
Got it.
So our smallest kiosk is the Iris, and then the Hercules and the Apollo, and then that's the lightning bolt. And so,
Gotcha.
that's like everything has a science and an orchestration to it. But in essence, individuals are able to, now have the ability to be mobile, right?
Yeah.
Like you literally can look through the mobile application and find where our kiosk machines are located in the city. So when it's time for you to return it back, like, hey, I'm done charging. Our average user is like 45 minutes. You can get 100% charge easily, depending on your device. And then laptops might take a little bit longer because it has a bigger battery pack. But look through the app and then you can see our different locations. If it's in that venue, you can see how many slots are available. So like you don't want to go to a kiosk machine and the slots are full because everybody brought their battery back. So you're able to, again, user experience, we want to be really, really cool. Yeah, and convenient. So that's kind of like the experience. And then for us, it's really, the aggregation of data and really understanding user behavior in different environments. Gotcha. Like your use case in like a coffee shop versus a stadium and arena versus like a emergency room hospital is just gonna be completely different. And so like we just really pay attention to the usage and the functionality that the people need in those spaces and try to provide the best, product.
When you first created Battery Xchange, who did you think it was going to serve first? Like, you know what I mean? Because I know it's transformed over time.
Right.
There are some in cafeterias. There are some in student centers, convention centers, restaurants. Who did you think it was going to serve first?
So honestly, and to take it back to where the idea even transpired, I was in Asia, and I know we'll talk about that, part of my MBA program, and I was traveling all day, leaving like a coffee shop and needing to get home, but my cell phone was completely dead, and I was just like...
In Asia,
don't speak the language, didn't have a cable with me, can't even haggle anybody to be like, yo, let me borrow a charger type thing. And so it was that light bulb moment of like, why isn't there a more convenient way for us to charge our cell phone while we're on the go? And then being in the manufacturing capital of the world, where I was able to use relationships to be able to kind of make some things happen. But in essence, it was people like me, people that were millennials that, needed their phone. We live on our phone. Like the average American checks their phone 331 times in a single day. That's a lot, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of engagement. Exactly, that's the average. And so I thought it was for people like me in smaller settings. And initially it was a B2C concept where we would have the end users pay. And that's what all the other competitors did. And then we saw that there was a greater opportunity for an infrastructure change where locations could be a part of having this solution and it'd be free for individual users. And so that's where we shifted from B2C to actually B2B because we felt like we were providing more value to the location itself. And so now we're, partnering with, I talked about healthcare systems. You think about emergency room. Nobody plans on being in an emergency room.
Not 3 hours.
Then you're gonna be there for 3 hours.
Man.
And the number one thing you wanna do is connect to your loved one, you know, and continue to allow that process to be as smooth as possible. So like you think about those environments, the professional sporting arena, where you're gonna watch a game for 4 or 5 hours and you wanna capture stuff on Instagram.
It's the worst going to a game and you're on 15% in the first quarter and you miss out the rest of the game.
And now you gotta limit your possibilities, like your ability. Exactly, you know, and so like we felt like we didn't want that to be happening anymore for everyday people. So that was the initial target audience, and then it grew to a bigger thing. And as a company that's growing, that's how you want to evolve.
I love that you said that. I hadn't even thought about it that way. It was B2C and then it became B2B. It's more for the location. It's for the location, and it's important. You you're building infrastructure in that location. You adding so much more value to that location.
Exactly.
Like you said, emergency room, you may be fighting over 2 to 3 outlets.
Yeah.
But everybody there thinks it is, and it is extremely important to connect with their loved one in that moment of time. But in the case that 25, 24 people can be able to connect to them, be able to charge and have access.
It increases density, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's what it's about.
Got it. So to circle back, you mentioned that you got your MBA in China.
Yeah.
What part?
So I was in the Zhengzhou area. So Zhengzhou is the city. It's the Henan province.
Okay.
So middle smack dab in the middle of China. Like not a lot of people there. So like to give you equivalency of big city in Asia is Shanghai is 21 million people. Beijing, is 40 million people. Zhengzhou is like 9 million.
Oh, okay.
Which is still a lot because New York has like 8 million.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, but when you look at the other big cities, like it's not that big of a city, but I loved my experience.
What school was it?
So my MBA was with Fort Hays State University out of Kansas, and they had an exchange program where they allowed some of their U.S. students to go to China and then China students to come back. And so it was Kiosk University is the one in Zhengzhou, and yeah, man, I miss it.
So what made you take that leap? Because I'm in my MBA now.
Right.
I want to go abroad, but I don't know if I wanted to. Well, I got a wife. I don't know. She wants me to stay there for an extended amount of time. What was it that made you want to get that full experience in another country, fastly growing country where the tech is innovative, it's moving at a speed. Like I love how they are using like one app to kind of centralize
WeChat.
your whole entire.
Yeah,
their WeChat is amazing. So like we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of competing in the market. What made you want to go to China to get that experience, and how did it transform you from a business perspective?
I think I always been like a global econ nerd, so like paying attention to different countries and how they look at the dollar, and how they look at innovation. And I felt like they were one of the movers and shakers, so to speak, like outpacing America. And I was just like, man, if I want to be truly an innovator, I got to be with the cats that's like thinking 20, 30 years from now. And so I was blessed with an opportunity to go there for free. Like my MBA was all.
Bro,
like,
what am I doing?
I know.
I'm in the wrong program.
So I was searching around at local programs because study abroad was important to me, but they only did like a few weeks or like a month max. And so I was able to utilize this to go for like the period of 2.5 years.
How long were you there?
2.5. Yeah.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, I was there. Yeah, and I did some backpacking and stuff like that in like Southeast Asia.
Sheesh.
Yeah, but you asked, one of the things that inspired me to go over there, and I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So my dad still is an entrepreneur, has a finance company. My granddad in Jamaica, by circumstance, not by choice, became an entrepreneur. And then like my grandma now, who is 92, I believe.
Oh, awesome.
She was one of those people that, were very spiritual, and she was just like, sometimes you got to take that risk, you got to take that leap. And, she really just prayed over me and just prayed that I would be protected while I was over there. So that gave me the comfort because I didn't speak the language. I didn't know anybody over there. But I knew that I needed to be in this space to be able to immerse, and literally it changed my whole philosophy on people, right? Like everything we heard growing up about China and, all these derogatory things, I was able to like be in the trenches with the people and learn how pure they are, how authentic they are, how they're open to innovation. Like you can go to anywhere in China and facial recognition, QR codes, all of these different things.
And this is years ago.
Years ago.
This is years ago.
And so that really, once you see that, and then I spent a lot of time, like I was blessed, man. I built like what they call guanxi, which is like your network, and was able to work for a tech firm that allowed me to get hands-on experience for like AI, like blockchain before blockchain was a buzzword, robotics, all these different things. And they had me in like Shanghai and Beijing. So number 2 and 4 at the time as far as like ecosystems for tech. So you got your Silicon, and then you used to have Beijing right behind it, and so when you're immersed in that space, your mind just goes, and you see money flow. You see, $1 million checks actually be written on a piece of paper type of thing, or like a napkin. Like it's just like, man, this is where, and the possibilities are endless. So I think that's just what it allowed me to do, is see that I could literally do anything, and there's people that are thinking about the future here, and I wanted to be a part of that.
That's dope, man. I think that experience is definitely a transformative one for sure. When you were there, did you meet people who were in this energy or battery space or no?
So fortunately, a little bit.
Gotcha.
So I was also able to get into the ground of the manufacturing world, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to build a network where I found people that were exposed to that battery and energy space. They were taking a lot of raw materials and trying to recreate battery, and make it way more sustainable. And so I thought it was cool, similar to what we said earlier. Batteries are in everything, and it will forever be, it's just gonna get a little bit longer as far as charging and all those things. And I was just like, man, you wanna have a solution and a product that is going to be here forever, potentially, if I wanted it to be. And that was kind of the inspiration. And then I started to just be a sponge in those circles. They would invite me out to conferences and intimate conversations, and they were talking about the innovation that they were trying to bring to the battery space. And I was just like, yo, I love this.
This is super dope, yeah. Okay, that's definitely good to hear. And I'm glad that you say you were a sponge.
Yeah.
You were over there, and you really got the most of it because you decided to get in those spaces. What's that word you used again for network?
Oh, Guanxi.
Guanxi?
Yeah.
Gotta look into that.
Guanxi real, man.
And what were they speaking? Mandarin?
Yeah.
Got it. Did you learn anything?
I did. So, man, crazy enough, I used to, so day one of being down there, I said, I'm gonna remove everything. I'm gonna just be free. Yeah. So this one guy that was in the program with me took me on a tour around the city on a scooter, because they ride scooters.
The city's huge too.
Yeah, the city's huge too. And I just fell in love, and then I ended up meeting one of my good friends that's actually about to get married in a few months, and he would take me to his hometown, and I would learn the language. I would go to speak to students, and I would see and get a feel for the culture and the people and the older people, and then I started to learn the language, and then I had a tutor. Some of my courses were in Mandarin too. And so I would travel by myself to from Zhengzhou to Shanghai on a speed train, to all these different cities. And I had to speak the language. So the best way to learn is immersion, and I was able to do that, even being old. So that was a big part of it. I loved it.
That's dope.
Can I speak it now? Nah.
It's over. It's over for it now.
I forgot.
Got it. That's what's up, man. While you were over there, do you have a concentration for your MBA?
Yeah. It was finance.
Finance.
I felt again, econ, finance, that whole world, knowing numbers. And then I think just for me, that MBA allowed me to just critically think about solving problems in businesses, because I did come from a corporate background, and I'm not one of those entrepreneurs that was man, corporate. Yeah. I'm corporate
gave you a foundation.
Yeah, man.
People sleep on that, man.
Sleep on it, but I got into a leadership development program. Then I climbed the corporate ladder very quickly. Yeah. I understood dynamics, relationships, but I also was really good at the job, and I treated people well. And that 5 years allowed me to now be the best CEO of leading people, understanding cross team dynamics, and listening to people, strategy, all these different
I think people
things.
Sleep on the importance of strategy.
Exactly.
You could be a whiz at whatever you subject matter expert, whatever you are in, but
doesn't make sense.
Strategy of it has to come together, and you have to be able to pull people together. I'm glad you said that. You got to be able to lead people. You got to be able to give them direction. And I think that's extremely important, that those are the soft skills of it. Yeah. But you can continue to sharpen those soft skills, and you've done a lot of leadership programs, you've done mentor programs, and you give back a lot. I've definitely seen that with Battery Xchange. To the China experience, manufacturing piece, I feel as though, I'm not gonna say light years ahead of us, but they are. It is.
Automation.
So I feel like they are the North Star for manufacturing across the world.
Yeah.
I mean, when we think about companies like Alibaba
Yeah.
and what they've been able to do, where now people can order anything.
Yeah.
Anything. You can get a modular home set from China to here from Alibaba. You can get your own like white label of whatever product you want and get it shipped from there to here. Did you ever get engaged with them or in general when you were over there?
Yeah. I was in the trenches of manufacturing facilities and seeing the automation and the innovation. I think one of the things that separates just the ability for them to grow so quickly is there's no skepticism from the general population. Like in the US, something new, we like, I don't trust it.
Yeah.
So Kyle got to do it before me. You know, there it's like they want to be first. And so when you have that like infectious want of innovation for many years,
across
and
the general population.
and it's trickled down generationally. It makes it easy to infuse technology and innovation into general society. And then honestly, you think about like maybe even your program, the Chinese and just the Asian population tend to be just very, very intelligent, right? Especially when it comes to like engineering and some of these different portions. And so, I mean, that's why like India and India more so particular as far as like engineers, but China on the manufacturing side, they just figured it out, man. And again, it's easy to like get it out into the general population.
Is it a population thing too? I mean, they have more people, so I can imagine if you have more people in a supply chain working on more products.
Yeah, they're able to do things quicker.
You can do things more.
And like, again, you have people that are just like hard-nosed, head to the ground workers.
Gotcha.
Like they don't need the glitz and glam. Like that was the thing that really surprised me, coming from just everyday people to like the rich and wealthy.
Gotcha.
It's really normal for you to be humble.
Gotcha.
I remember I was at breakfast one time with a business partner of mine that lives in Asia, and we're eating hole in the wall spot because those are the best spots.
Oh
we eating our breakfast, chopsticks and all.
That's another world to go into food.
Yeah. And then this guy is, because they do a lot of exercise, they do a lot of walking. This guy's like walking around the block and he looks like a bum, like just sweatpants, real casual. He was just like, you know who that is? And I was like, of course not. Look like a man. Do I need to give him some food or something?
Yeah.
And he was just like, yo, that's one of the wealthiest people in this city.
Really?
And he talked to me about the need for being humble. Like money is important, but not showing face. Like, the bosses and the leaders try to be the most humble people in every room. And it's just a cultural thing.
And it's that, I mean, if you compare it to like what we look at as CEOs now, they always like consider greed. Like some people were getting on like Tim Cook, they were saying like, well, he makes 50 million, so even though he's cutting his salary, I mean, he already had enough. And like they're getting on CEOs about like just, cutting their salaries by 2%, 5% due to the recession coming and whatnot. They don't typically have that narrative, I'm guessing you're saying, around their leaders and their CEOs. It's more of the leaders lead with humility, where that narrative probably isn't created.
It's not. I ended up working for, I was working for a tech firm there where the boss was, again, you saw him perform or like lead in a manner of humility and a manner of like listening.
What you do,
right?
I can do.
Exactly.
Is there corporate culture anywhere like ours, or
they work harder? They used to laugh at me because I was the American that would leave at like I'd be out like 4. You know what I'm saying? And they like another thing. So this is on the other side of like culture. They typically don't leave before their boss. So if you got a boss that's like grinding, you know what I'm saying? And like, in our culture, like bosses just be whatever, or like you could just leave.
The time comes,
exactly.
I gotta go.
And so like them, it's just like, I mean, sometimes it's busy work or whatever, but they looking over like, damn, when he gonna leave, and stuff. But that's just how they kind of, but other things that I liked around it, it was very communal. We would do meetings and we would have like tea kind of ceremonies where we're doing that. And then, when we go out, different drinking ceremonies and stuff like that with baijiu and stuff like that. So it's very cultural and very connected as far as like that corporate culture.
That's dope. That's dope. And I didn't know that at all. So you dropping that on me, I think that's definitely interesting. So you spent 2.5 years there.
Yeah.
You came back to the States, Charlotte.
Did,
you come back
I did,
initially to Charlotte? Between then and to where you are now, Battery Xchange is on its 4th year.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get the idea to fully go in with Battery Xchange?
So I remember being in China and having a little bit of bread to get like what we call an MVP, so minimum viable product. And last semester, so had to come back home and was hoping that the manufacturer was gonna send it. They sent it, it didn't work. But it visually was enough for me to now go out to the community and go out to various venues and pitch competitions and say, you know what, this is what I'm trying to build. You know, this is physical, right? Yeah. Again, it didn't work, but it don't matter.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter. You know, I was like, this is what we want to create. This is what we want to build. And that passion allowed me to build this phenomenal team of just very smart engineers and, you know, developers and, you know, individuals on the quality side. And that's a big part of our growth is having the right support and then being able to trust them. And being through the trenches, like figuring out how to be resourceful. Like you got to have a crazy amount of grit to be an entrepreneur as you're in this space now. And I think one of the things is really understanding how to leverage your environment. You know, Charlotte is not known to be like a tech hub.
Finance.
Yeah, it's finance,
heavy,
you know? So for me, I was able to like, I think even within North Carolina, become like a big fish in a small pond where a lot of people knew who I was or the company and stuff. And I make sure I don't walk out of any room without somebody knowing they see the battery guy, hey, that battery guy, you know, that type of thing or whatever. And so that became infectious. And then I was just intentional on like being at every event. And early stage, a lot different now, but being at every event, networking.
What year is this?
And this is 2019, 2020, right before COVID. And, you know, just building that brand. And then, you know, it ended up working out to where, you know, we're in a stage now of just growth.
One thing, like when you look at the tech, the hardware, you could potentially think it's just the hardware and the hardware. And it's charging. But you mentioned engineers, you mentioned the developers that you have to work with. That's not your background.
At all.
So you have to know what you don't know. So even though you have a hardware and a piece of like physical material that we use, it's based on software in a way. It's based on software. Talk to me about the software development side of Battery Xchange and why it's so important. Because you mentioned, very beginning, you mentioned like data integration and understanding your data. I tell people, data is the coding language for business people. It's the programming language for business people. Not everybody will learn JavaScript, the Pythons and whatnot, but I think you should understand just data at its face value. So talk to me about the software development of Battery Xchange and why it's so important to you.
So I think
and
like,
the user.
There's two parts of it. There's a part of ignorance kind of helps out too, because like I'm vulnerable and transparent enough to like ask for help. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs don't, you know, and so like when I'm in spaces, like I think about Ethan or Matt, who are like our product and, you know, handles the software team. They fell in love with the product and I started to just ask questions about like, hey, can we do this or could we do this? And then I was also fortunate. So I'm not saying like I'm like technically not a technical founder by trade because I didn't do, you know, software engineering or whatever, but I like went through programs that allowed me to learn how to code, learn how to develop, to really understand. Cause like, it's a part of like, not having it as your expertise, but you still gotta know what you're talking about. You know, you still gotta be dangerous, right? And so I just like started to be really good at like finding great people that were good at their skill set. And then really got a joy in learning their world and asking questions and then allowing them to lead, you know? And so that's been a lot of the development process. And then it's really finding people that believe in the vision. Even our development team now, like here and overseas, they're individuals that like see the problem, see it as a solution, and also bring in potential features and potential this and that makes sense to the overall of what we're looking to develop. So like as a visionary and a leader, you gotta understand what you wanna create, because that needs to be communicated to the development teams, and then they just go out and do it. And then you gotta be patient with the process, because I remember our first mobile app was trash, and like it just like it took so long, and it was a lot of money. But you know, you learn from that what you don't want, and then you learn processes, and then you know we do everything in like 2-week sprints now. Where, you know, hey, we want to do this feature, you know, this is where we want to be at in 2 weeks. Hey, we're there, we're not there. You know, this is what we need to do. We need extra resources, we need extra support.
You start including the methodology.
Exactly,
into it,
and then also just finding great people that are good at development. Like a lot of people say they're developers, but might take light years to do something that's very, very simple.
You got to put I always tell people, you got to put your 10,000 hours in.
For sure.
And development is one of those things where you got to go through the troubleshooting, you got to go through the bad website, the good website, the terrible app website that doesn't log in, the login button doesn't work. That's dope. And you're an inquisitive guy, so I know you're asking those questions from those developers, asking how you can continue to innovate in a number of ways. The app, so the app is very similar to what Tesla has, as I was mentioning before, where you can find all of the kiosks all across, and that can really help you. It also lets you know if they're full, if there's two available. Yours is very similar. Creating that type of technology, is that a hard technology? Because I feel like you're incorporating like location-based. Then you're incorporating like real-time updates of people who are using it, people who are taking it out. Your development team probably isn't huge, but that's a huge lift to be able to have access to all of these locations, understanding, you know, when one is being rented, when one is being taken out, when there's a new user. How do you like house all of that data, like in general? Like
so a lot of it, like you got to have a really strong back end that allows like the central system to connect to the hardware and then connect to like an AWS server that actually houses the data, right? And so all of that is going simultaneously when you scan a QR code, which is cool, but it's really just infrastructure build. And then there are a lot of like API connections where you don't have to necessarily build from scratch. You can connect to Google Maps, right? And understand location and all of these different things. And then so you literally are putting like a puzzle together, and then once you have the puzzle together, it's just finding other pieces.
When I found out about what APIs were, I started understanding how tech worked in a lot of ways. My first job out of college, I used to be almost like a product manager for the mobile app for insurance company. And we were able to connect Siri to the mobile app where you could like tell me what my quote is for the month. And I thought it was super dope. This is a huge insurance company, so they got the money and the tech.
And it was an API
but it was an API that was able to connect that. And when I was able to understand, I was like, how do we get Siri connected? Do we just pay Amazon? I mean, not Amazon. Do we pay Apple to be able to just connect to this? And I just thought it was so interesting when I was in like those product meetings and those sprints. They were talking about how they were creating that API to be able to connect tech to tech, and how we're able to use it in a number of ways. So similar to you, like you're saying, you have these connectors, which are APIs, to be able to help you connect to the Google Maps or to a location-based server, or like the AWS server in general is the one that kind of houses all of it. For you, metrics is huge. There are a number of things that I know you're tracking and just trying to get an understanding of your user base more. What's the 2 main metrics you like to track the most when it comes to Battery Xchange and just understanding your audience?
I mean, one is like utilization. Like the location wants to make sure that people are utilizing it, right? So we got to track that. And then repeat users, right? Like how many, like especially again in these like corporate settings where you have like nurses and doctors and all these different people that are a lot of times our champion, they use it just as much as like patience, right? And again, you want it to be a value add there. And then I think because we allow enterprises to be a part of our user experience, it's really the engagement. So some of the things that we infuse into the mobile experience or on the screen or on the QR codes, are people actually engaging with those pieces? Because that's what the location and the business and the customer is hoping, right, for having this solution in there. And then I think in the future, as we kind of evolve, it's, you know, similar to how like Bird is tracking, you know, where people are picking up a scooter and dropping it off. Like that type of engagement is important for us too, because, you know, in essence, we'll be able to see how many batteries are needed in an environment based on the data and the utilization over the last few weeks type of thing, right? And so it's things like that that are important. And then as we kind of evolve too, I think one of the things is really understanding the user himself. Like, what type of information and resources do you need in your environment that would be valuable to you to be able to showcase within that user experience based on where you spend your time, right? And so all of those things are just like colliding together to, you know, just have the best user experience.
That's dope. I always tell like business owners who like have a number of sales, a number of customers, or just engagement, a number of ways, like track that data. But that's gonna get you down to that root cause of what you need to be really focusing on. So I'm glad you shared that, like utilization, and just engagement, repeat users, engagement, because they're huge, and they help you kind of steer where you need to go. That's probably help you from going B to C to B to B, and understanding how you can impact that area.
And then also understanding the industries that need us the most, right? Like that's a big component of like spending your time wisely. Like even in the beginning, we used to be everywhere, like, yo, we'll be here. Now I'm like, nah, that don't make sense for us. Like the data says that people ain't gonna use it in this space, you know? So a lot of that allows you to make more strategic and intentional.
I'm gonna take you back on what, it was like 3 years, it was before the pandemic. It might have been the Iris, the smaller one. You brought it to a tailgate.
Okay.
People used it. WSSU, homecoming tailgate. But like in general, you just hadn't envisioned that you're gonna probably need a battery. You're gonna need charging.
We'll be there for hours, man.
We're there for hours. I used it. I know a lot of other people that used it, and just thinking about that use case. A tailgate. Tailgates happen every weekend during football season, soccer season. They're happening. But if you don't have like this F-150 Lightning or something like that, you probably ain't gonna be able to like charge your phone in a number of ways. So I thought that was super dope. You're 4 years in now. You've taken some leaps and bounds. You've transformed the business in a number of ways. You built a team. I've got to meet some of your team. They're pretty, all of them. Everybody's dope. Everybody's dope. And they really got a passion for the business just like you do. And I think that's good. You got people around you that support you, but they also got a passion for the type of business that you have. But at one point, it was really like one or two people starting this thing off. Talk to me about just that literally the startup journey and like the networking piece of it, to be able to put yourself in rooms, to be able to build this thing up to where it is now. But also, you got to get funds. You know, you got to eat. You were doing this thing full time, and I was looking at it from afar. Like I was like, "Yo, he's grinding." But things look fine. I mean, I know you was probably like in the background, like, "Yo, I got to see where the next check is gonna come, or where the next, you know, how I'm gonna pay my bills in a number of ways." Because you really went all in on this. Talk to me about networking and how you were able to network to place this brand and place this business in the right rooms, and if there were any specific rooms that kind of really made Battery Xchange that much more serious.
Nah, man, I think, you know, to even take it a step back, even jumping out and having the confidence to jump into this, you got to have the right support system. You know, so like family wise, I was there. I was recently married, you know, like newly married at that time. And, you know, my wife just has always been my number one supporter. So, you know, she was able to step in and do things because it would help me out with my dream, you know? So like that is, first and foremost, I'm definitely blessed there to be able to like go through and still be figuring things out.
A good wife can help a lot,
man.
bro.
Tons, bro. Tons.
A good wife can help a lot. While I'm here today, my wife is my executive
Oh,
producer.
She the GOAT. She the GOAT. So that's a big part of it. And then I think for me, I'm just a hustler, man. Like originally from New York, you know, like so I got that hustle mentality, and then like being down here, you learn relationships and how important those are. So you mesh the two, and you got a beast, right? Being a athlete, you know, all the way through college is another part of just like having that grit and like knowing how to like dig in deep. Like we ran track, you know what I'm saying? We did things where
you ran the 400 too.
In the
one of the hardest events
by far,
in sports.
By far,
People don't know that. It's hard. Grit, mentality, huge. So
and I mean, one thing to say about that is just like what we did every day is what people did for punishment. You know, like football, you do something bad, you run. You know what I'm saying? All these different things. But again, it taught me how to tap into that second win. So I really took all of that foundational aspect of life into the business. And you know, I think in the beginning I was a bit nervous around being in the room and the whole narrative of entrepreneurs, like, oh man, I don't want to tell everybody. Then I started to see the more people I tell, the more opportunities I have now, right?
And people are interested.
Exactly. And they're asking you questions. They're allowing you to think on a perspective that you haven't even been able to think through, you know? And so I found joy in it. I kind of saw it as a game. And then I just like, you know, would Google and like learn the different ecosystems and learn who were the movers there. And I was that cat, like honestly, when I was at Winston, my junior year, I was that guy that after events, you know, when speakers would come in, I'm talking to them and I'm like, man, can I job shadow you? Because I don't know what I want to do type of thing. So I took that same pureness.
You still had that even a while ago. You were asking for those experiences.
So I took that same genuine feel for learning and learning people to this network environment. And so, you know, when I had an opportunity to, you know, you talk about some of the communities that really help, City Startup Labs. So an organization that was founded on providing an accelerator program, right? So teaching business owners, typically tech, about, you know, lean model canvas, you know, go-to-market strategies, handling your P&L and different things like that. So I was able to, you know, work with Mr. Rock in the early stages, and I think he saw something in me, and I nurtured that relationship. And he's still a mentor. I just talked to him on Friday, you know. And then, you know, the NC Ideas of the world, where I was able to get like 50 grand, 75 grand.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Entrepreneur.
And the hustle is pitching, you know, like I'm not scared to pitch anybody, bro. Like I've done crazy things where my thing is like, you aren't gonna get that opportunity unless you put yourself in that space. Like one of the things that kind of happened more recently, just being in a pitch environment, was I'm in the middle of, you know, Panther Stadium for a Charlotte FC game. And David Tepper is there because they actually beat Chelsea FC. And for me, I was just like, man, I'm never gonna get an opportunity to be face to face with him, right? So I had like a few moments of just sharing what we're building, and it kind of opened up some doors. So I've always taken that purity of not being scared to just go, even though I'm scared, you know? And then when people see how diligent you are, like I follow up with people, you know, I keep people, hey, this is where we're at type of thing. And when people see that, they believe that you're going to do what you say you're gonna do, and you do that enough, you build a community. And so like I did that all through North Carolina. I'm going to DC. I went to Chicago, you know, Houston, all these different, everywhere to just like get the name out there. And that was a big part of this journey. I would pitch anywhere, whether it was like 5K to 50K to, you know, 100K and all these different things. And then I started to, you know, be very, I guess, more open on like social with the journey.
Yeah.
Hey, this is where we're at. Like, we don't got it all figured out.
Yeah.
We popping up here and having our product. You know, we're partnering in Miami with the Super Bowl.
That was dope. I remember that you utilized social very heavy at one point. You were like, we're here. Ink and Ivy, we're here.
I wanted to bother people. I wanted people to see, like, dang, man, he hustling. Yeah, he hustling. He doing what he got to do. And through that, we were able to build a community of just people that always said they wanted to support. Yeah. So for me, I had learned about like crowdfunding. And I was just like, yo, we kind of got this nice following and community of frat brothers, people that went to college with us, people from my church, you know, like just people in the Charlotte ecosystem.
Everybody counts. Everybody counts.
And so I was just like, man, you know, let me provide them an opportunity to be a part of our company and invest in our company. And so we opened up that door. We raised 115 grand in like 6 weeks, which was crazy because you know black people aren't supposed to be able to do that, you know. But a part of me was, it wasn't only investing in the company, I was now helping my community learn how to invest in tech, right? And exposure. And that was the biggest thing to me. Yeah, you know,
you were the first startup founder that I know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know people created businesses, but you were the first like tech startup founder that I know. So that exposure piece made it real. Like, you're someone I could literally go ask, like, how did you do this? You didn't have, well, let me not say that. Did you have someone that you pointed to in your local like ecosystem that had done this before?
Unfortunately not, man. Not only just hardware, like a big part of community is like people that look like you, you know what I'm saying? Being able to like help you and teach you the way. We ain't had none of that, you know? And so for me,
dollar and dream.
Bro. And like, honestly, you know, God gave me the ability to be the trailblazer, and I was good with that. Like, I took pride in that. You know, I live by this philosophy even now. Like, people come to me for answers and they're asking stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm still figuring it out, but I'm also like lifting as I climb. I've learned a lot. So it's just like, there's still things that I can share with you from my experience, right? I don't tell you what to do. I just share my experience. And so
you take that and do what you need to do with it. The crowdfunding piece, I love to get back on that. There's rounds. So I would love, I'm not too competent on the levels of fundraising. So there's like crowdfunding, and then there's like seed rounds and whatnot. Talk to me about like the phases or the areas that you've jumped into with Battery Xchange. So, and you did crowdfunding. Have you jumped into like the seed funding and just getting additional outside investors and things of that nature?
Yeah, so we're currently in our seed round right now, you know, raising north of $1 million for growth. You know, bringing on people, investing in technology to make the user experience more seamless, provide more value to businesses. But it's funny, and what I'll give you is the stereotypical, you know, Silicon Valley journey, right? Not necessarily all companies, but you have your pre-seed round where, you know, you probably got like an idea, you don't even got an MVP, you think what you want to create, and typically you're raising, you know, 500K or less. And you can do that through angel investors, you can do that through crowdfunding, which are angel investors, or, you know, a lot of pitches and doing those type of circuits. And then once you get to...
So it's pre-seed,
right?
The crowdfunding, angel investors.
Early stages of people are really just believing in you.
Gotcha.
Because you don't got nothing. Typically, you don't got nothing.
But you had a little. You had a product.
We did. But we were still in our pre-seed. Like, we didn't have the mobile app. We didn't really know what the functionality and we really didn't even know how we wanted to, you know, sell it. Because remember, we were B2C at that time. You know, so pre-seed is like figuring it out. And then, you know, you get into a space of like finding maybe 1 or 2 customers that see value in it, and they're like, you know what? I'm going to do a pilot, or I'm going to pay for this solution. And so you do that. And then again, we talked about the data, and you're very intentional on like what success looks like, and tracking that progress along the lines, because what you're trying to say is I can duplicate this into, for us, it's like other healthcare systems, other professional sports teams. And you do that for some time, and then you get into a space where now you're looking for like product market fit, right? And so you feel like or developing a product, right? Or a solution, and you get into like your seed round, right? So you're raising capital for you're trying to get your company to like that next stage of growth, right? Maybe you're bringing on people now because like you actually have something conceptually and you have a product and you have some customers. So that's that seed round. You're raising anywhere from like 750 to like maybe 3 mil, right? And then after that, you should have either like enough traction to get to maybe like $500,000, $1 million in AR, right? And then you get to a period where you raise your Series A. Series A is like, okay, like I found my product, you know, we got customers, we got some good revenue, and we're raising, you know, north of, you know, 3 to 10 mil at that point. And then everything else after that is, you know, Series B, Series C, Series D, all that stuff, and it's just more and more money. And so that's kind of like the vernacular of the trajectory of any startup.
Investor world. Okay, got it. So you're in
seed
round right now. What do you think is key to the successful seed round? What do you think is like your North Star for trying to make this successful right
So
now?
I think specifically for us, I've always been like the ugly duckling in the software like SaaS world because we're hardware and it takes so much to have this or whatever, right? Not understanding that like I got crazy manufacturing relationships or I work with an MSP that I don't take in any overhead, right? Or you know, where are you gonna be at 10 years from now where, you know, the cables kind of go out and like we figured that out, you know, which I'm not gonna put on here. So answering those questions and then having a really great team and then having some really great traction is important in a seed round. And so I feel like it's funny, I just finished revamping like our deck that we share out with investors and I'm, you know, pitching and stuff. And I'm like, yo, this is that $1 million deck, you know, like
you gotta have that confidence.
Yeah, you got to. You know, but I feel like it's our season. I've listened to a lot of, you know, the narratives over the past few years, and I'm like, yo, I got that now. You know, and sometimes you're really a little too early, you know, and then now it's just like
timing is key.
Tapping into the investor base that I've been able to build over the past few years, showcasing and then articulating to them why us, why now, and what we're gonna do with the funds. And so that's what I'm doing. And then I think one of the other pieces that I've learned is having a great like advisory board. Like my board is like the dream team, bro.
Really?
Yeah, bro.
Really?
I got my Jordan, I got, you know, like Malone, like I got those cats on here that have exited companies, have phenomenal relationships,
built companies,
been in the finance, you know, industry for years, been at like big names like Google and stuff. So like I have those people in my corner helping to plummet us and put us into different spaces. So that's why I feel confident about this space.
Do you ever feel like you're like one person away sometimes, like where you're just like, oh, if I just meet this person, or you might not even have a face on who that person is. You might have a face. I'm pretty sure you got a few faces. But in general, sometimes, like you said, you were in the room with David Tepper. But like, do you ever feel like it's just that one moment or space where if you meet this person or whoever that person may be, you tell them about Battery Xchange, don't even have to be a pitch, but that one relationship that could open up a number of doors to really take it to another level? Because sometimes I seen, I don't want to misquote him, but I remember Jay-Z was like, sometimes you need luck.
A bit of that.
A bit of luck. Where you just don't know who's going to be in the room, but you're ready when you are in the room. Has that happened? Where
so
you just been able to?
It's happened in many phases where I've been blessed to be in the room. And I think a part of my readiness is I'm in the gym practicing. Like I'm practicing, I'm always pitching in the mirror or by myself or practicing with my friends and visualizing that person and those individuals so that when I'm in that space, I'm not starstruck, you know, or I don't know what to say. And then I'm really good at like IQ and just understanding people. And then in this environment, this is how I should articulate. Because maybe sometimes I need to just talk about who I am, you know, and the vision behind that versus the product itself. Or
people trust you before they even trust the vision.
And so you just got to know that. And then you got to just, I think a big part of what you're saying too is like, studying the greats, yo.
Yes.
Like I got
Yes.
a lot of people that I look at that are phenomenal at, pitching, and articulating their business, and I study them, and I'm just like, okay, this is how I need to operate when I get into this.
Anybody
space.
you want to give a shout out to that you have studied?
I think about like the Don Dixons of the world, who has Popcom, who's a hardware type product. I forgot his name, but the founder of Calendly, the founder of Ring.
Yes.
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I've watched a documentary on
Exactly.
him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dope individuals
Yes.
that you learn from, and you take things from, and you learn how to incorporate in who you are. And be ready for that moment. And then a part of it is just being ready for that moment, because everybody think they ready, but everybody ain't. It's different, yo.
You brought up Don Dixon. I used to live in the same city as her, and what's so crazy, did not know her when I was there, but she knows all of my friends there. All of my friends there.
She the GOAT.
And I love how she's just like pop-up shopping, I would say demoing her product in so many places now, and that's a dope, like, I think the experience of a product is huge, and I saw that you do the same thing, and I follow her story a lot too. Popcom, right? Popcom, how she's built a team, how she's ready to jump in any room. She's a master fundraiser, definitely at the level where she is. I'm glad that, like you said, you can pay homage, you can really study other people who may not be, at a Facebook level, but at the same time, you see that grind and you see what they're putting in. I've seen her do like free fundraising, like pitch seminars. I've seen her do like building community, and she's giving that knowledge, and then you're starting to see it really come back in with the product that she has and the transformation that it's been able to make over this time. So so for her, I don't know her, but I've watched that transformation. That's like putting your 10,000 hours in of figuring out how you get it figured out and how you can just take it to that next level. That's dope, man. So one of the last things I want to talk to you about is community. You are, I feel as though, a very well grounded person. You're very involved in the community. You've done things at WSSU where you brought stuff back to students and you let them know more about how to get into the industry and the world. You've been through Leadership Charlotte. I probably don't know half the other things you're involved in. You're on a number of boards. How important is it to give back throughout all of this experience? Because it's like Battery Xchange doesn't have like a foundation or like a 501c3 foundation, but you and your team are giving back through a number of different avenues. Why is that important to you?
Community is like super important. I think about the people that open the doors for me, and so the least that I could do is just try to do the same for like the people that are coming behind me. So it's just naturally who I am. I think it's like me being Jamaican and just that easygoing mentality of just like being the betterment of human beings. But I really feel like we got to be intentional, especially with like the youth. And I'm going back to Winston, and I'm going to like the inner city, like the West Charlottes of the world, and speaking to the students, because I want them to see like, man, I came from where you came from. I never been the smartest, the strongest, the fastest, but I've always been like one of the hardest working individuals in any room, and I could outwork anybody. You know what I'm saying? And that grit and resilience takes me and has taken me this far, and you can do it too. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what it's all about.
My slogan for the podcast is visibility builds credibility. I think that's huge. I think it's important. If you can see something, you can be it. I think you've done that in the Charlotte community. I think you've done that across Winston-Salem State and beyond, because you've been in a lot of different spaces, really showing people what they could potentially become, what you could potentially create, and it's gonna take grit. It's not gonna happen overnight. And you've done that through service. You've done that through bringing people onto your team. I think that's a really dope piece. I love that you've built a team, and like good to see other people who like they may help you as an engineer today, but they may open up their own startup a year or two.
That's
from
what
now.
You want.
I'm on this, like my brain, my wheels are spinning up like I got a million ideas. How do I get that MVP so I can finally pitch? Or knowing that you didn't have it all figured out. And you don't have to have it all figured out, but you're able to still go out and have the confidence to go, you know, this is what I have and this is what I can make it become, and it's something of use to the environment or to the people that'll be using it. So, man, I appreciate you, man. This has been a really dope conversation. I know Battery Xchange is going to be nothing but successful because we got a hard worker behind it. To close, what's next for Battery Xchange for 2023 and what you are expecting on the goal and the strategy timeline?
Yeah, I told you it's $1 million year, man. Whether it's sales, fundraising, and I think just overall growth. I think we understand who we are now. We got a rebrand. It's sexy. New user experience.
I checked it out. It is very fresh.
Bro. And so like we're comfortable where we're at. So it's steady and consistent growth right now.
Got it. Where can the audience check you out? Where are some key places in Charlotte that they could probably go and find the kiosk?
So on social, Worldwide Wigs is mine, and then Battery Exchange _ on all platforms. And I mean, Atrium locations, we're in the Knights, a bunch of like Whiskey Warehouse, Ink and Ivy, you know, download the app and you'll be able to see the nearby kiosk machine locations and it'll tell you where we're at in the city. So that's the best way to find it.
Dope. And I didn't tell you, he's an awesome speaker.
Oh yeah.
He speaks. He's an awesome speaker. I think if you're looking for someone to really give you a nurturing speech, but also workshop and facilitate it properly about this whole entire journey, but also taking more tactical steps, Desmond's the guy for you. So, I appreciate you again for being on the Kyle Brown podcast. Visibility builds credibility. Hopefully someone else out here will see this, eventually start their own business, their own company, or even just take that leap of faith. I think that's the most important piece that I want to do here is expose people to people that look like us about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And they're doing it with grit, they're doing it with integrity, character, and they're bringing people up with them. So, man, I appreciate you again. And we'll probably do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
We're going to stay connected. I'm going to always support, and I'm really excited to see where Battery Exchange goes, man. So appreciate you again, my brother.
No doubt, bro.
No doubt. So this is a kiosk.
Yeah.
We're here at Flywheel and the Comparison Center. So this is a kiosk, so man, if you don't mind, you walk me through it.
Yeah, so you in a location, you need some charge. You already have the app, which is cool, but you'd be able to scan that QR code.
Gotcha.
And then it'll bring you to the App Store, and then you download the app on board like Google or Facebook or any one of those platforms. And then once you become a user, you pretty much are able to incorporate a debit or credit card, and it is a free service, but that's just in case you don't bring it back within 24 hours. You would incur a late fee, but we're sending you notifications throughout that time. So you're set up, you would go ahead and scan this again.
QR?
Yeah.
Got it.
With the app.
Oh, with the app, got it.
And the cool thing about this is we allow the business to advertise on there. So as you're kind of having this like user experience, they can share content and information with you.
Scan QR code, right in your face.
Yeah. And then let it connect. I think it's because you're not on Wi-Fi, but
wait. Okay.
Damn, the app ain't that slow. Might have to edit that.
Hey, don't worry. Right. You don't got to worry about that.
I don't know why it's taking that long. Let me see. Yeah, mine's went.
I just switched off. Yeah, it don't even matter for real.
It
don't matter,
And then you confirm the rental.
Got it.
And then you just wait for one of those to push out. Bam, so that one. And then you can pick it up.
That's tough. That's tough.
You pull it out.
Yeah.
And then it has all the cables. So got the iPhone, you would take that left one.
Left one. Bet. Oh, I like how you just slide with it too.
Yeah. And then put it up to your device. Yep, that's it.
Do I need to connect anywhere?
No.
Got
just
it.
plug it
there.
up.
Bam. Look at you.
Yeah.
This is tough.
Right.
This is tough.
And then like in the app, if you were in this location and wanted to go to another, you could be like, hey, what other locations are nearby? So you can pretty much go to the nearby kiosk machine and then see what locations are in like walking distance, and then how many slots are available for you to return it back to.
You gotta drop it off somewhere
You gotta
else?
drop it off. Yeah, you can.
Oh,
yeah, you
okay.
can drop it off anywhere. Yeah.
Got
So
it.
those are the nearby locations. And then once you're finished, you can unplug it.
Got it. Okay. I'm just loving
Oh,
all
yeah,
the
yeah,
locations
yeah,
you
yeah,
got going
yeah,
on here.
yeah.
I mean, definitely the health field is huge
right,
over here. Ink and Ivy. This is Whiskey Warehouse?
Yeah.
Yeah. YVY, of course.
Right.
Shout out to my guy. Cool. Endless locations, bro.
Yeah. And expanding, so.
No
really
other
cool.
cities?
Yeah,
Other
so
cities?
Greensboro, Winston-Salem, we brought the city of Greensboro on, so they got a bunch of locations there.
Yeah.
And then Winston-Salem State, we got like 5 kiosk machines there. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
W.B. Atkinson, man,
right.
That's
This
super.
is-
So I was a biology student,
Okay.
and there aren't any outlets in
Yeah.
there. Like that's probably a huge use case. Like, and we stay over there the whole time. Like that's all we do. This is dope, bro.
Yeah.
And
then once
probably I'm on like 60. So
Right. I
how
mean,
long
15
is-
minutes maybe?
15?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Dope.
So while you're here doing whatever you want to do, be comfortable in like being able to still be in that environment,
Yeah.
charge. A lot of people do networking here, so you can grab it, do your event, and then once you finish, drop it off,
This
and
is
then
easy.
be out. Yeah.
Very easy.
Yeah.
Got it. So from here, I love how this popped out so smooth.
Yeah, it's cool.
So from here, what I do, when I'm done.
You unplug it, and then put it back in there,
Got it.
and then
And
turn it
straight
around.
in.
Yep, and then just
Right here?
any slot. Yep.
Dang. We
And
locked
then
in.
my girl will tell you,
Yeah.
and then that's it.
What's her name?
I don't know yet.
You gotta get her
I know,
name, bro. You gotta get her
I
name. You got
forgot,
Iris, you got
Right,
Apollo, you got
yeah,
Hercules.
yeah. We gotta get her name.
You gotta get her name,
Yeah,
bro.
I got you.
Yeah. Next time we're gonna have a name
Right,
for her.
right,
So
right.
that's dope, man. This is an extremely amazing piece of hardware. I love the advertising piece. That's
Yeah.
a huge thing.
Yeah,
If
it's
you come
marketing,
in
it's
here,
communications. Yeah.
You come in here, they don't have this.
Exactly, yeah.
So for them to be able to have, a screen that tells all that you can do here on like an ongoing basis, this is marketing. This is a whole
Exactly.
billboard.
Yeah.
It's digital
Yeah.
billboard too. So this is super dope, man.